Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Contractually Speaking, our Malbek podcast. My name is Matt Patel, COO and co-founder at Malbek and your host. Today I have the pleasure of having Emmanuel Smith from Qualitas joining me, and our focus today is going to be first talking about NFL and CLM, how these three-letter acronyms are similar in many ways. And then we're going to get into how organizations that are evaluating a CLM project or a tool work with vendors and partners on how to scope for implementation services, change management, project management, what kind of questions to ask, and what defines the cost of services. Because a lot of times there's a confusion in the market. Why does something cost so much, or why is it cheaper here versus there? We're going to try to get into all of that before we end here. So with that said, Emmanuel, welcome. Please introduce yourself.
So thank you, Matt, for having me on the show. My name is Emmanuel Smith. I am now with Qualitas. Formerly, I was playing in the NFL for 6 years before that. I made a unique transition into legal, was not planned in the books, but God had other plans. So I took it and ran with it.
That's awesome. You were the only person I know and probably will ever know that moved from NFL pro and into the world of our legal technology. So there's a lot of things I want to ask you about that. Kansas City, of course, we've seen them play well, win Super Bowls. You have rings. I saw them in person. Yes, I could even maybe have put one on, which was too big for me when we met at a couple of trade shows last year.
Yep.
And the current season we will not talk about because it's
Yeah, no, it's a rough season. I think I tell people all the time, I was like, you know what? I saw something that was made me laugh that are comparing Brady to Pat, and they was talking about like their journey to go win all Super Bowls. And Brady's eighth season, they lost Super Bowl, which last year was Pat's eighth season they lost. Brady's ninth season, he tore his ACL. They didn't make the playoffs, and then he came back. History. He won three more after that. So I'm like, you know what? It's okay. This year might be a down year for the Chiefs. Praying that Pat has a speedy recovery, but also I feel like, hey, coming back, they'll have some time to actually get things rolling again. And the dynasty isn't over just yet. We'll let somebody else have a victory in their life.
but that's exactly that's what I'm thinking. Let some other teams win. Here I'm in the New York area, Giants, so I remember like what 2012, right? The Super Bowl win when
Yes.
our quarterback, and we've had a few rough years, but we'll come back.
Yeah.
Um, so not to make this podcast into NFL stories, let's talk about another acronym called CLM.
Yes.
So CLM projects often start, and this is for new organizations that are trying to do a new CLM project, either replacing an existing solution or implementing CLM for the first time. But sometimes it's also just upkeep, right?
Yeah.
I have a CLM already rolled out in America. I want to expand to Europe, or I have it in legal. I want to expand to sales or procurement or vice versa. So it could be existing projects expanding or a new CLM project being scoped out. When you talk to customers, how do you explain the value of services? Because in the modern world, all these tools are becoming easier and self-service.
All right.
That leads people to believe, oh, self-service, so then this should be cheap or free. If it's so easy, why am I paying, money to
Yeah.
have somebody implement? So that's always a question we get asked. So how do you handle that?
Yeah, no, to tie that down to football, like it's self-service, but you still need training and you still want coaching, even though it's self-service, right? Like when I was playing football, I know how to run my position pretty well, play linebacker. Like I was self-service in that position, but I would still go spend time with the coaches or trainers to continue to hone my craft to fix the little bit of mistakes that I have to make sure that I'm more efficient next season. And I think that correlates really well over to like a lot of these platforms. A lot of them do say like, hey, I am self-service, which is great, but you also got to figure out, like, hey, if it's self-service, I still want to be sure that I'm training, I'm up to date, I'm keeping what's going new. Cause everything is changing today in the world with AI, right? Like it's moving so fast. So like, how can I continue to have that self-service, but still have that coach relationship that like, hey, what are you guys doing that's different, that's new, that I can plug into that can continue to make my self-service journey be more effective versus me just staying the same. Cause I believe if you stay the same with the same self-service, you either grow it or you're dying. So if you're staying the same, you're not trying to move forward, your system is probably dying and not moving with you. You're starting to have pain points that come with that.
And as you said, as a linebacker, you knew your plays, but from the coach and others, you had to learn because I think it's a team sport, just like NFL, CLM. I might figure out how to configure a workflow or a clause library or a template or an AI playbook. But did I work as a team player? Did I ask sales what they need? Did I ask procurement what they need, IT services, or even my own colleagues in my own department, legal?
Yeah, that's absolutely huge. So a lot of people we see some customers that things start out siloed. They're like, "Am I in my box in my lab and I'm perfect?" Which I'm like, "That's great for you." But the big picture is the company and the team to be perfect, not just you. Because you can have, I mean, you want to name great quarterbacks, right? You can have a Hall of Fame quarterback, but if they have nobody around them to help them go and achieve that goal, they're just a good quarterback. And we've seen that play out before and before. So a lot of times these systems, like you'll get a system and you might think it's the best thing because you are siloed in your box and you're not expanding your vision to see what actually the team needs or the company needs to help you plug and put pieces in place to actually have you guys go win a Super Bowl championship in your contract lifecycle management systems. And that's the biggest thing that we've seen. It's like, how can we take from being isolated? Because if you're isolated, you're alone and you really don't know what's kind of going on outside your bubble. So you're really not growing. You kind of you're stuck in one spot. So how can we get people to take that step back, to take a deep breath and see like, hey, who else is also involved in this system? Because contracts touch every bit of part of a business. Who else is that I need, whose hands do I need to have on this, or eyes that look at this that can help me make sure like, hey, we have every workflow stream that we want actually moving towards the objective that we wanted to, right? Versus just me having silos. Like I know what I'm doing, IT's doing their own thing, then you have procurement doing their own thing, and like I'm great. But then you look up and it's like, oh, IT just bought a system, procurement just bought a system, we just bought a system. It's like, why we have three systems? Like, what's going on? Because there's no communication.
That's right. Um, you mentioned quarterback coach. Just out of curiosity, I have my own opinion. In the world of CLM, who's the quarterback and who's the coach?
Man, that's a great question. I think depends who owns the CLM, but I think a lot of times your GC will be your offensive coordinator, your head coach, and then your head of legal ops, director of legal ops. They're the quarterbacks. They're the ones who are living in the field with the other teammates. They're running the plays. They're making sure everything is functioning. If stuff is hitting the wall, they're the ones that's like, hey, who we got to talk to, who we got to fix this, and they're reporting back up to the head coach that, hey, like, we got the fire under control, but if we don't, we'll bring you in when we really need you. But I'm the quarterback who's handling all the things on the field as they are just playing out on a day-to-day basis in practice or in games. They're the ones who handle the main objective. So you want your quarterback to feel competent, confident, but also like, hey, I have the assurance of my coach that I can lean on if I'm not sure, right? So that allows you to have a true coach-player relationship, but also have a true system in place that speaks growth, that leads to growth and leads to change.
And to counter that, here's my belief. And it also depends on each organization. I've
Right.
heard from a lot of large global companies that legal will say, yes, we review contracts, but we don't own it. We don't own the system. We are consulted to review and protect the company from risk, but it's really procurement or IT or
Yeah.
whoever that owns the actual technology and the ownership of the data. So, in my opinion, the quarterback is that department that owns it. If it's legal in your organization, then yes, your legal ops head of legal ops or legal ops admin should be that quarterback.
Yeah.
But if it's procurement that owns it or IT or
They're
whoever
the quarterback.
they are, as far as coach is concerned, my thought is it's actually the one implementing it and
Okay.
administering it, which could be the vendor, which could be a SI partner like yourself.
Right.
Or if you're a mature organization and have someone that knows how to implement CLM, it could be that person. Because when I look at coaching, it's advising and sometimes saying no, to the team that is trying
Yeah.
to set it up in a way where they know that in the future, it's actually not going to work for you.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. In my head, when I see coaching, like the head coach is like the overall, he's peeps and everything, offense, defense, special teams. But I think how I picture it in my head when I tell people, I think consultants or vendors like ourselves we're mostly like the OC or the DC. Like we're the coordinator. We're coming in, we're drawing up the magic plays. We're in like we're helping you figure it out. That was when you do go back to your coach. Then it's like, okay, cool. Hey, I got the plays. I got what I wanted. Now let's make sure our coach approves of it. But I think so. I see ourselves most like that OCDC that can help you really put together the playbooks, put together the scheme that you're trying to work on and the system. So when you goose take it to the head coach, it's like, all right, sweet, we got a good game plan. Let's go run this game plan. That's kind of how my head pictures it. But I think yours is right as well.
Yeah, no, it's just different ways to explore. But point being that for organizations that are going to do this, find that coach, find that quarterback, identify that person,
Yeah.
whoever it might be, because you will need that to drive forward the change that you need to make, the mindset shift of people, because, as I always say, CLM is never as simple as just opening up a Word document and emailing it, right? That's like the easiest thing that
Yeah.
ever live in this world of contracting. And CLM is always going to be a few more clicks, a few more steps, but the benefit comes downstream when you're scrambling, like cannot keep up with the workload and contracts are getting lost or versions are not being managed and you're editing the wrong version or all the bad things that have happened, as we know.
Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely paramount is to have somebody whoever the quarterback's going to be to give them everything they need to make sure that they actually have the right things in place to go be successful, right? I think like for us, what we see a lot of people is like, hey, we did a lot of things really well, or we just bought it, implemented, and like didn't really think much about it. Like, how's this going to grow with us? Because what you want is somebody to come in, like you said, the expertise. Like, yes, we know how to implement a system, but also like we could just put the system in place of what you say you wanted to do, and we can come back 6 months and what you say you want to do is not doing the same thing because now your company has grown. So like figuring out like how can we have something in place that as you grow, the system can grow with you because that's one of the main things that we're seeing is like, hey, we got this system just for this purpose here, which is fine and dandy, but like that's not gonna help you a year from now, 6 months to a year from now, because now you're gonna be like, I need a new system because this system isn't doing what I want it to. Why not take that on the front end and figure out like, hey, what system can we use? What's important to us and what can we do to grow with this system or have the system grow with us? So that when we start putting things in place and we do see that rapid growth, we're not trying to scramble like, hey, we got to go buy a new system and go through RFPs and everything else again. We already kind of planned for that early on in the process because we had consultants or we had counsel that we could actually talk to about what our goals are as a company, what we see here from now until a 2 year, 6 month, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year goal, what we want the company to be. And like, how can we work that backwards to make sure like, hey, this system is going to be able to at least stay with us for 5 years, right? And now I want to come back and be like, man, I hate this system 3 years from now. I want to do a whole new lift and shift, new system tear out. Like we don't want that. We want to make sure like, hey, we have it in place now so the system actually is being used by everybody, not just that one person.
And the systems that grow over time and the processes that evolve over time, one thing organizations forget is CLM is just like anything else in our personal lives or in our house, maintenance and service. We forget that this technology also needs to be monitored and maintained. It's almost like, to me, it's like the Super Bowl ring, right?
Yeah.
And if you have that nearby, I'm going to ask you to display them for the audience. But I think of when we have our HVAC system in the house, we do maintenance, we change filters, we go check annual services, any appliance, even our own bodies or our
Yeah.
cars, we are checking and maintaining. But oftentimes I've seen CLM solutions just be there. And yeah, the people will add a field or update the template to change the copyright from 2020
Right.
to 2026. That's not maintenance. That's just making it accurate each year.
Yeah.
Maintenance is look at the data. 2025, what do I see in America, Europe, Asia Pacific, or NDA versus MSA versus SOW? Who's using the system? Where are we gaining the most efficiencies? Where's the bottleneck, cycle time? Which clauses are being redlined the most? If that's the case, maybe I should change my boilerplate or my standard clauses, because if I'm agreeing it to the change consistently 80% of the time, why is my default still the way it is? That's
Yeah.
maintenance to me. And that's, I think, where you all come in.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. Like how you put it, like maintenance is that way. If in sports, like our body is our jobs. Like we'll go get massages, we'll go get dry needle, like we'll go give blood work,
Yeah.
we'll change our diets. Like we're like, hey, what diet is helping me you be able to perform this? Where I think LeBron James was like $1 million a year on his body in terms of recovery and just maintenance, right? So like if you're performing at a high level, you're gonna want to have that maintenance on a routinely basis to make sure you're actually hitting the boxes or checks you want to hit to go be successful. That's no different than our CLM systems. Like you want to have that maintenance. It might be 6 months, it might be every quarter, but you want to have that maintenance because things are changing at such a fast pace that if you're not maintaining, you'll look up and next thing you know, like I pulled a hamstring. Like, dang it, my maintenance wasn't good. Right, like it'll come up on you as a surprise and you'll be really upset because like I wasn't maintaining the things I know I needed to maintain to make sure that I could perform, have my system perform at a tip-top shape as we continue to move on.
So, final question, Emmanuel. Organizations, when they're, again, as I started in my intro, when they look at these projects, the perception is CLM should be cheaper, easier, quicker. And why does it cost what it typically costs? And to me, first, the time it takes, it really depends on the organization, how ready they are. It's not about the technology, but are your templates ready? Is your data ready? If you're migrating data, what shape it's in. So the calendar days or weeks or months it takes is not about the vendor, the technology, or the partner implementing. It's about holistically, while you have your day jobs, can you manage this additional workload and keep up with the project team? So that's the time it takes. But the cost involved is you get what you pay for. That famous saying that, whether you go to a restaurant or buy a car or buy services, is all the same to me. You get what you pay for. So tell me about your thoughts on value of services when you're talking to your customers.
Yeah, no, I think the value of services on cost is a great question that people ask, but also think they got to open their mind into like what are they asking about? Because you mentioned like if you're not ready and you want to do a huge just buy a new system, lift and shift, what you're gonna realize is you'll do a lift and shift and you'll have the same problems you had from the last system to this one because you didn't change anything. So we always tell people like, hey, let's do a ready assessment first to actually evaluate where you guys are in this process so you guys know what to do when you move forward or when you guys will be able to move forward and actually have everything in place so it makes that transition seamless. But I also like to know people like it's not just the dollar sign cost, right? Like it also comes to the cost of one time, right? Like you might have people who might put a system in place, do it correctly, and they might get 27 hours a week back that they can go be more productive somewhere else. Like, what's the value of that? And then what's the value of peace, right? But like, hey, my time, my colleagues can go do this more effectively because they got more time back to focus on really our main priorities. They have peace in mind because they know the systems in place that actually gives them the confidence. Like I can go find what I need to pretty quickly and a snap of my finger. So they're like, you got to put that also into what you want us to consider. What's my cost to go do this system? Because it's not just a dollar sign. It's also more so like what's involved into it, right? Like if we go get your oil change, you don't pay just for the oil change. You pay for the maintenance of the service of the people doing it. So you want to make sure when you're doing that for your systems that you actually have that cost associated with that. So I want to know like, hey, what can I save on my time if I do this correctly? What's that look like? What does that give me back to go do? But also, how's that make me more productive? Obviously, what's the dollar sign? What does that look like? We tell people all the time, how much you get what you pay for. We're not going to be the cheapest. We're not going to be the most expensive. But what you want is a quality of work. That's what Qualitas stands for in Greek, so or Latin. So you want to make sure, like, hey, you're getting quality work because that quality work is going to actually provide you a lot of relief on the back end. Like you might see that dollar sign up front, but on the back end, 2 years from now, when you're not trying to figure out what's going on and have to pay for extra things to kind of make things be more fancy for you, you'll start seeing that return on investment pretty quickly on that as the time move on with that new system.
And what you said is spot on, that when cost of services comes in a topic of conversation, start with the ROI, that by spending this much, you're going to recover or gain this much. That
Yes.
changes the mindset rather than, oh my God, I got to spend 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000
Yeah.
more. If you spin it that by doing this in 6 months or a year or 2 years, you will be saving 500,000, 1 million, 2 million, whatever the size of the organization's risk
Right.
profile is. That changes the mindset, right?
It does. Or you can sometimes even ask them, like, if you don't fix this, what's this going to cost you if you stay where you're at now? Right? Like, you tell me then, like, if the cost is too much, if you don't fix this problem, what changes if nothing changes? And what's this costing you right now that you'll look up 2 years from now, a year from now, that you're in the same place trying to figure out why is things not moving forward, right? There has to be some type of mindset shift, but also a willingness to actually want to move forward. I don't want people who, well, my friends always tell me this, like, a farm dog lays on a nail and he'll kind of growl or he'll like, oh, it hurts. But he doesn't get off the nail because it doesn't hurt bad enough to make him move just yet, right? A
Mm.
lot of people kind of get in that place like, oh, we can work around it. It's fine. We can make it work. But it's like, yeah, but when the nail keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper, eventually you're going to be like, all right, I'm fed up with this. We need to go do something. And a lot of that time it's too late, right? Then you're already kind of in the fire. So what can we do to prevent you from getting to that point where it's like, oh man, everything's on fire. I got to kind of scramble and throw something together last minute. Why not do that early on the front end to actually help you avoid that?
And the cost at that point is going to be like 10, 20
Yeah,
times,
yeah.
right? So then then what we going to do? So great conversation, Emmanuel. Appreciate all your insights. Always good to be speaking to you. And one thing, while I have this little wedding ring, I think yours probably trumps this by size. Oh,
I got a couple of them.
look at that. That's like 10, 20 times the size of. So this is basically small implementation, and those are large implementations. So
This is what we want to help people win right here. We want to help them do that in their contract systems. We want to help you get some big rings on.
that is incredible. All right. With that said, thank you, Emmanuel, and thank you everyone for listening to our audience. And until next time, we're going to sign off. Thank you all for joining Contractually Speaking.